We still have no updates on this film. Zero updates. Have they started filming yet? Is Markiplier in it? Is Jack Black in it? Is Nick Cage in it? Is Scott in it? We have no idea. And yet we press ever onward, theorizing at just what to expect when the Five Nights at Freddy's movie hits theaters, or potentially some lucky streaming service besides. Welcome back, my fellow gamers. This is Top 10 Gaming, and I'm your host, Amanda McKnight. It's time to get theorizing with this list, where we'll be counting down another of our top 10 FNAF movie theories. This is part 3. So if you want more lists like this, we already got you with our parts 1 and parts 2. Check them out. But for now, let's get counting. Number 10, a twist. Obviously, we are already well versed in the story of FNAF. Well-versed isn't exactly accurate, as there are still admittedly a lot of pieces missing when it comes to the lore, but you know what I mean. There is a lot that we already know, like who the main villain is, how the victims were killed, etc., etc. Many of the mysteries have been solved, and then many still remain unsolved. So how will the film adaptation keep us on our toes? Well, some believe this will happen with debunked theories being utilized, giving us a sort of unexpected alternate storyline that can still surprise us. Such as, what if the phone guy was actually the purple guy? Or what if the experience of the games is all the recurring nightmare of the murderer who killed everyone and represents their guilt over what they've done? Number 9, post-credits scene. I feel like this one is a given, considering that we have so many successful franchises out there already, and so many other studios interested right now in turning their film idea into the next successful one. But what will the post-credits scene be about is the question. To warrant an educated guess, we would need to know a lot more about the plot probably, but for now we can try to guess based off of what we know about the story thus far. So, we know the screenplay Scott Cawthon and the team decided to go with is referred to as the Mike screenplay, and that it has the best pieces from all the other previous attempts. Many people believe that the screenplay will be based off of the events of the first game based on the name for it. So what does that mean? Namely that the post-credits scene will likely hint at the fact that the secrets that were revealed during the film are likely even bigger than we could imagine. We could see the hint at a greater villain such as William Afton or Stitch Wraith, or perhaps even Circus Baby and Sister Location. After all, the films don't need to follow the same path or order as the games, they just have to keep us intrigued and entertained. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, just a quick reminder to hit that like button if you haven't already, and if you want more FNAF content here on this channel. Remember, every time you hit that like, it takes a day off of when we can expect to see this film. It's shortening the time. Just kidding, it's not shortening the time, but who knows, maybe it is. It could be possible. Number 8, Willy's Wonderland Easter egg. Everyone knows about the other film that recently came out that is basically Five Nights at Freddy's, but without the official IP or license. It stars Nick Cage as a passerby who gets roped into working the night shift at Willy's Wonderland, in exchange for having his broken down car repaired. His character spends most of the film not speaking, but proves himself to be more of a threat to the animatronics that roam the family restaurant than they are to him. Willy's Wonderland was not made in partnership with anything FNAF, but it was still evidently inspired by the franchise. It would be cool to see some kind of nod to Willy's in the film, even if it's just perhaps like a light joke poking fun at the copycat film or the franchise featured in it. Because although they kind of are taking the idea, I kind of love when people are inspired by things like FNAF and make cool stuff out of it. Number 7, Nick Cage cameo. Nick Cage being the star character of Willy's Wonderland would make a pretty cool person to cameo in FNAF. 1, so many people are big fans of Cage, and 2, he just starred in a film that definitely had major FNAF vibes, while not being officially tied to the franchise or its own film in any way. Thus far, anyways. Also, Nick Cage is just fun, and he's usually up for a laugh with a good sense of humor, even when it comes to himself and his own body of work, so this could be something he'd be up for. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't mind a little crossover between the two very different films which share a very similar premise. Number 6, You've Got a Friend in Me. Well, we know that one of the screenplays Scott Cawthon got rid of, referred to as the Pawn Shop screenplay in his FNAF movie Reddit post, featured too much of a friendship connection between a boy and an animatronic. It could be possible that we'll still see some element of this reflected in the film. After all, the main villain, as we know from the games, is actually William Afton, and the animatronics, while murderous, are just as much his victims, souls of children trapped within them, fueling the vengeful actions of the animatronics, but really deep down wanting to be free. It would be cool to see some kind of team-up moment between our protagonist and at least one animatronic, where for a moment their goals line up and they are inclined even to maybe help one another. Number 5, Chuck E. Cheese sponsor. This seems highly unlikely given the fragile state that Chuck E. Cheese is in right now, having kind of just emerged from bankruptcy, but it could also be really smart of the Chuck E. Cheese franchise to team up with FNAF. After all, think of how much money they could make if they tried to appeal more to the FNAF fan, who keep saying at least how much they wish Freddy's was real and that they wish they could visit a version of the restaurant in real life. Ideally, a more safe version, I imagine, but I think the potential in terms of money that could be made all around from that partnership could be huge. It would be cool to see Chuck E. Cheese acknowledged or promoted somewhere in the film, considering it's as close as we have to a real-life Freddy's currently. Number 4, Freddy's pop-up. Closer to the release of the film, another idea for something we could see in terms of promotion, perhaps once again in partnership with Chuck E. Cheese, is a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza pop-up. Even if it wasn't a place you could go to play games and be entertained by animatronics, having even a pop-up delivery pizza place with costumed versions of the animatronics, maybe even delivering pizza, would be insane. Great for promotion, great for hype, and also great for revenue. Maybe even great for pizza? It would also blow my mind if this happened as a promotional stunt and the pizza itself was amazing. That would be unlikely, but I would also embrace it and it would be awesome. Number 3, puppet appearance. One of the characters in animatronics that I think is the most terrifying is the puppet, which makes me wonder if we could potentially see the character in the film. Will we get to know Charlie's story or merely see this animatronic as some kind of monster? Will we even get to learn the truth of the trapped souls within the animatronics in this adaptation at all? Or will that reveal be left for a sequel as a kind of misdirect, because we'll be like, where was that? And then later they'll be like, oh, it's still there. I would love to see Charlie and Henry make an appearance of some kind, and for us to get some kind of insight into their story and involvement with the Freddy's franchise. If anything, as horrifying as the puppet is, I think because of Charlie's involvement and backstory, this could make the animatronic a really, really good option for what I was talking about earlier, with maybe one or all of the animatronics being somewhat helpful to our protagonist at some point in the film. Or perhaps Henry himself will make an appearance helping out in memory of his lost daughter, which could also be cool. Number 2, new narrative. While we've all speculated on which games will really inspire the film's story and which bits of narrative from the games will make it into the film, it's entirely possible, like with other successful franchises, that the FNAF movie will take inspiration from the games and the plots there, but provide their own take on where the story goes and what secrets are revealed. After all, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is now a long and developed and highly profitable film franchise, has relied on giving people fresh takes on established characters and their stories, to keep those interested in the source material, the comics, the animated series, and previous animated films more on their toes. I think this is something that will be integral actually to the film's success. We want to feel that tie to the games, but we also want the movie to surprise us, because I mean, that's a big part of what we love in general about the games and their lore and this franchise. The twists, the turns, the speculation, the unexpected reveals. Number 1, release date? When will we see this film? Most sources seem to claim that the FNAF movie is filming currently, with the film having been expected to start filming in spring of 2021, which I mean, is kinda now. However, if it was filming currently, it would be likely we'd see some kind of buzz about the shoot, and yet we don't really have any confirmed images from the set. There are, however, lots of fan film set images available if that interests you, and in fact, some of those fan film sets are pretty impressive, so something to look at least while you wait for official images from the movie itself. The lack of set news and pictures, however, means that it's more than likely the film is still in pre-production stages, with our last report coming from Jason Blum late last year, stating that they were still ironing out the details of the plot, and Scott himself only making the post confirming the script premise 4 months ago. What does this mean for release? Well, we don't really have an announced cast yet, and once we have that, it'll likely be 2 years from then till we can kind of expect the movie to hit theaters, which means that if the cast was announced, let's say this year in 2021, we likely wouldn't be able to expect the film until 2023. So sadly, the release date could be a while. What cameos do you hope to see in the film? Have you seen the bootlegged version of the FNAF movie that is definitely not at all FNAF related, Willy's Wonderland? What story elements do you hope stay the same for the film as we see in the games? Let us know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it is time to turn to some comments from one of our latest videos, Top 10 FNAF Movie Theories Part 2. The mobster 20 Karen comments, is there gonna be new animatronics? Most likely. We'll see Spring Bonnie and Fredbear and a different version of the puppet. I mean, I think we'll definitely see different takes on those animatronics, but I'm wondering if we're gonna see like something completely new, something we've never seen before. Like, I don't know, like a snake animatronic or something crazy, a shark animatronic, I don't know, just something out there, which could be cool. Supercraft7 Man suggests the Fazbear Frights books could work as a miniseries. Yeah, I could totally see that. I feel like I'd watch that. It wouldn't even have to be live action either. I would watch like an animated miniseries of that. Metal Squash 1985 shares, I'm really looking forward to this movie. I mean, I think we all are, and at this point, I'm just hoping that like, I want to see some set photos. That's what I want. If I can see that in the next year, I'll be very happy. And that's all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below for a chance to have your thoughts and feels shouted out in a future list. This has been Top 10 Gaming, and I'm your host, Amanda McKnight, reminding you, as always, to keep on gaming on. Pew pew!